The Y Factor is proudly brought to you by Flame Steakhouse Pizza and Ribs in Campsie, the best steak you'll ever have.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all.
Sunrise warms the horizon, sand dunes form in the distance. He's up and out in an instant. The crowd, they all were waiting, watching and anticipating. A man appears from afar. Could it be the one sent by Allah? He shouts, here comes the prophet. His face is a light that drives out the darkness. Words are alive, his message is living, joy everywhere. Our voices
The Y Factor.
Welcome to another episode of the Y Factor, listeners. Today is Thursday, the 29th of March, and you've got Tasneem here on the mic, and I've been abandoned by all my Y Factor comrades who we shall forgive. However, don't worry, you won't just have to hear my boring voice for the whole episode. We've got two very, very exciting segments coming up. We speak to Sheik Neelain Muhammad, who was the former bodyguard of the champion Muhammad Ali. He speaks about civil rights, the struggle of identity of youth and what we have to go through as young people every day, messages of hope and basically enlightenment. We also speak to Hanan about the very, very exciting foster care Muslim project called Families for Children, and stay tuned for that very, very interesting stuff. Just thank you to all the Y Factorians who have actually been posting on the Facebook group. We've had very, very interesting discussions, and I think it's actually really good to see that everybody, getting on there, letting us know their thoughts and things like that. So keep it up. If you don't know what the group is called, just go on Facebook and search the Y Factor 87.6 FM. We're also more than happy to get any recommendations, suggestions, advice, anything like that from you guys. If you don't have Facebook, you can email us at yfactor@live.com.au. So that was yfactor@live.com.au. So without further ado, we'll just leave it there and start for the news for this week.
The Y Factor.
First up, we've got a really sad news item coming out of Palestine. You've got 29 Palestinian prisoners who are actually in Israeli jails going on hunger strikes in an attempt to protest Israel's practice of detaining people without charge. You've got Hannah al-Shalabi, who is actually on her 42nd day without food, and doctors say her condition is actually worsening. She's actually one of many Palestinian prisoners who are held there without charge for 6 months, and these 6 months are actually renewed every now and then without basically any reason. Now, Miss Shalabi hasn't actually been given any indication of why she was actually arrested, and basically all the Palestinian prisoners are actually protesting this really sad turn of events. 2 other hunger strikers have actually gone without food for 25 days, and there's also a 72-year-old prisoner who's actually hasn't eaten for a week. So that's actually really sad, and there have actually been other reports that were released this week that there are actually around 700 Palestinian children every single year in Israeli prisons. So that's a really, really sad number to see, and it's actually really sad to see that more advocacy and awareness is not done in this regard.
The Y Factor.
In some awesome news, 250 mosques all over the nation in Italy have actually united and formed the Italian Islamic Culture Center. This is the first confederation of Islamic communities and mosques in the nation, and basically what they're pushing for is unity, and they've actually released a value statement, and they actually have different values they're promoting, including citizenship, rejection of every form of violence and independence, respect for the holiness of life, the promotion of defense and the rights of women, and allowing the harmonization of the Islamic community in all other components. So it's actually really, really good to see this. May Allah, help them in your unity efforts and bring that to Australia.
The Y Factor.
Now, if you haven't already heard, in Sydney's getting rid of its monorail after the New South Wales government actually purchased it. Now, a funny turn of events, Hobart in Tasmania, actually the Tasmanian government actually requested, and they said that I want Barry to give it to us. That's what the Premier actually said. But Mr. O'Farrell is adamant that, like most things in life, there are very few gifts. Now, he reckons that I think we've given Tasmania enough GST over the past 14 years. So he actually doesn't want to curtail the enthusiasm. However, he's actually waiting for some offers from Hobart, and he's not going to give them the 3.6 kilometre long rail for free, the monorail. So we'll see how negotiations go in that respect.
The Y Factor.
In more international news, Turkish Prime Minister Recep Erdogan has actually arrived in Tehran on Wednesday for talks on nuclear program, as the talks became strained over the continuing bloodshed in Syria, as Tehran has actually vowed to do everything it could to support Damascus. Erdogan actually met the most powerful authority, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, as well as President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad during his 2-day visit. Now, Erdogan held talks with Iran, with the US President Obama on Sunday in South Korea, rising speculation that Turkey was actually sending a message to Washington through Tehran. Now, it's actually really sticky to see how the events will actually span out, because although he's there to discuss Iran's nuclear program, the issue of the continuing bloodshed in Syria cannot be brushed under the carpet, and there are both governments do hold opposing views, but it's actually very interesting to see what will eventuate from this.
The Y Factor.
In Libya, some unfortunate events have actually been occurring. 30 have actually been killed in a battle for the Libyan oasis. Now, the clashes in Sabha come as the ruling National Transitional Council struggles to assert its authority over the country. Analysts say that rival militias and tribal groups have been fighting for power and resources following the rebellion that ousted Gaddafi last year. The toll is 15 dead and 63 wounded, said Dr. Abdul-Rahman on Tuesday, adding that 16 people were killed and another 60 were actually wounded on Monday. The death toll continues to rise, as well as the victims who have been wounded. Now, apparently these tribal groups have been fighting armed members of the Tubu tribe in the desert, which is 750 kilometers away from the capital. And some people have raised claims of ethnic cleansing and a separatist bid in the country. And it's actually sad to see, just after they've come out of the revolution empowered, civil strife has actually taken over the country.
The Y Factor.
In other news, tech giant Apple has actually offered refunds to iPad purchasers who actually were misled by the iPad product, basically thinking that it will be compatible with Telstra's 4G network, which it wasn't. Lawyers for the ACCC, the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, accused Apple of breaching consumer law by promoting the device as being able to connect to high-speed 4G mobile networks using a SIM card. The federal court heard Apple ignored warnings from the ACCC and was told the day before the iPad's launch that it was actually misleading the consumers. Today, Apple's lawyers actually argued that it was never specified that it could actually connect to Telstra's network, but that the device is actually just compatible with other networks by international standards that are actually deemed 4G. However, the company says that it will email purchasers offering a refund if they believe that they've been misled, and clarifications have actually been made at the point of sale. So if you've actually bought your brand new sparkling iPad, you're not happy with it because you've been misled because you thought it'd work on the awesome 4G network, then rest assured that Apple will actually offer you a refund. Now, I think I'll leave it there for the news items for this week because, as I said, our feature episode with the 2 superb interviews are actually really, really interesting. So stay tuned. You're listening to The Y Factor on 87.6 FM.
Who I am, this is me. Nothing, everything, can't you see? Who I am, just let me be. Cause like it or not, but God loves me. Who I am. He said, she said, they all did what's expected of them all. To get to the top don't matter if somebody's gotta fall. You gotta brace the storm, the norms to conform. Get what you want's gonna kill us all. This is who I am, this is me. Nothing, everything, can't you see? Who I am, just let me be. Cause like it or not, but God loves me. Who I am, who I am.
The Y Factor.
Joining me in the studio today and all the way from the USA is Sheik Neelain Muhammad, who accepted Islam over 30 years ago. He was a former lieutenant of the Nation of Islam and former bodyguard for the world heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali. He's the special advisor and trainer of the Canadian Association, who have sponsored Umrah and Hajj packages to the holy city of Mecca for celebrities such as Loon, Dave Chappelle and Mike Tyson. Sheik Neelain has been a da'i, a call to Islam, ever since embracing Islam. He's also achieved an 8th degree black belt in mixed martial arts, and he's also studied Quran and other Islamic sciences. Sheik Neelain is here, sponsored by One Ummah Projects. Welcome to the studio, Sheikh.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. So, Sheikh, what's Sydney like? What's Australia like?
It's beautiful. Very clean.
Yeah?
Very clean. People have shown such kindness. And the food has been spectacular.
You prepared to make hijrah down here, Sheikh?
You know, I'm really, you just said that. If I can't go to Muslim land, I'm thinking about here.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Yes.
All right, Sheikh, just to get into it, as an African American and as a Muslim yourself, who's obviously seen, you've dealt with the youth, you've seen the struggles that they go through in America and other countries, a lot of the issues that young Muslims have these days is in relation to identity. So whether it be Islamic identity, whether it be racial identity, whether it be just confusion, okay? What do you attribute these issues to?
Well, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Allah and we send the salams on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the problem here is our collective identity. We have lost our collective identity as Muslims, and we have lost our collective political power. We have lost our collective freedom, or we're losing it. And we have lost the most important thing is our collective voice. The Muslim voice is not a collective voice. It's individual Muslims that are speaking out with all the fitna that's going around in the world today in different parts. So the Muslim youth are confused. The Muslim youth are lost. Why? Because we as Muslim leaders, Sheikh, Imam leaders, parents, teachers, or whatever, we are not doing our job. We are not coming together under the umbrella of collective leadership. Collective leadership. If we had collective leadership, the identity of Muslim, and particularly the young Muslim, it would be whole. But we're in fragments.
What do you think prevents this leadership from taking place or happening?
Because we are selfish. We're thinking of our own self, our own ethnicity. We're thinking of our own group instead of thinking of the whole, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best example for us. He brought all the tribes together. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He created us in nations and tribes. So He said this, not to despise each other, but to know each other. The Muslim, we need to know each other again. And we need to know that we have an identity. We need to know that we have a collective agenda. And we need to know that we have a collective vision. And we need to say and know that we have and need a collective voice. And if we was to come together collectively under the umbrella to save the Muslim youth, then the Muslim youth would feel that they have an identity because someone is speaking out for them. This is why the Muslim youth are disillusional about Islam. This is why the Muslim youth have problems with Islamic dress. This is why the Muslim youth are going astray, because they don't see us as leaders in a collective sense coming together collectively.
So you think these issues of discrimination, ethnic divides, sectarianism within the Muslim community, this basically cripples the community from within, and this is what leads the youth to this disillusionment and to this lack of identity and confusion?
Yes. Shaitan has made a vow to make sure that he attacked the children of Adam from his right, from his left, from his front and the back, and even though they're on the straight path. And we are not treating Shaitan as an enemy. We're treating him as a friend. Whether he comes in the form of the media, whether he comes in the form of the magazine, whether he comes in the form of racism, social divides, we're falling for it. Our whole problem is we won't come together. If we come together, we will have political voice. We will have a collective voice, and we will focus on our collective vision. Right now, our collective freedom is gradually being eroded. It's being eroded by when we travel. There's a problem. It's now, society's getting so comfortable, they're telling us, well, we don't even want you to wear the hijab. You can't wear niqab. Now they're dictating to our women. And if once they can get our women out of the Islamic clothing, then our future is done. Because all generations and future come through the woman. And if we don't protect her identity as a Muslim according to Quran and Sunnah, then we might as well just pack up our bags and leave.
So, Sheikh, from the American experience and in your role as an advisor to the Canadian Association, what's the way forward?
Canadian Dawah Association.
Canadian Dawah Association. What's the way forward with this? So we've got these intrinsic problems within the Muslim community, and also outer influences, as you said, in the field of politics, in the sphere of sociology, things like that. So attacks from both the outside and within on the Muslims, and the brunt is felt by the young people. What's the way forward? What's the solution?
The solution is simple. Come back to your religion. Come back to Quran and Sunnah. Practice what the Prophet gave us. The Prophet was a doctor. We had a sickness. We had an ailment. He gave us the best medicine, was the Tawheed of Allah, the oneness of Allah. Come back to that. If we return back to Islam and practice the simple principles of Islam, then this would bring us back together. Study the seerah of Rasulullah ﷺ and present it to the youth in a way that they can understand it. Don't make it so mystical. Make it practical and say, hey, you can do this. And this will cause a lot of the youth to come back. We have to give practical talks, practical examples. If we give practical talks and practical examples, then this will fuse us together. Back again, it's a collective problem.
So, Sheikh, sometimes, as you say, these young people, they get inspired by Islam. Islam causes a change within themselves. But sometimes the youth limit that change to themselves. So, in your experience, how do movements become widespread grassroots movements? And not just Islamic movements. So, you can see the civil movement in America. It started as grassroots, for example, Black African activism, but it spread. Yes. So, how do we make this change that you're speaking of that starts within ourselves to spread across the community and not just limit it to the Muslim community? We look around us and society needs us, There's a lot of injustices happening. There's a lot of wrongdoing. How do we as young Muslims become beacons of change and, to carry that change forth in our societies?
Study the history of Islam. Study the life of Rasulullah ﷺ. Here was a people who was totally backwards, living backwards, doing all type of fitness and wrong things. And one person, one man, by the decree of Allah, in 23 years, turned them around. The society I came from, I'm an African American. My people came through slavery, and everything was taken away from us. Everything. Many of us came from West Africa. Over 30 million of us was put in chains and brought to the Americans, the lands of America. And who would have ever thought? There's nowhere in my line of my family, maybe from before slavery, but in slavery, traces, I've done research, there is not one Muslim in my family, and even to today, I was the first one to break that chain and come back to Islam. Now look what I'm doing. I'm a voice for change. I'm not just a voice for Muslims, but for any youth that is struggling in life, because youth are looking for direction. And I want to use this quickly as a baby. A baby, when it's born, is in the womb of its mother for so many months and is at peace. Everything is provided for it. Right? And sometimes the foot kicks out, the baby want to come out, but the womb says, no, it's not time. But once the baby's on the outside of the womb, it does not have those protective barriers that protected and kept it safe. So now the baby becomes uncomfortable, uncontrolled, feel like it's going to fall, and it needs some help. And what happened? The mother comes with the blankets, a warm hug, and the baby calms down. The youth are just like that today. When you see them acting out, they're not acting out, they're crying out. They're saying, help me. Put the blankets and the sheets back in place tightly. What is that? Taqwa and Iman. put them back in place. And the youth will respond to that. And one day they'll say, thank you for saving me from hurting myself and hurting others. But most of us don't have the knowledge. We have all this Quranic knowledge, all these things from the Prophet, but we don't know how to apply it in real life.
Sheikh, what would your advice to be to young people who have gotten out there, they've become activists, but they face obstacles, okay? And sometimes obstacles lead them to disillusionment. What would your advice be to the young people out there trooping and trying to, you know, be that voice, but they're always met with skepticism, met with, you know, disdain, met with just negative remarks? What would your advice be to them to troop along?
Well, in my own life, I perform what you would call jihad on myself. Jihad is a beautiful word. It means to struggle. I struggle in my own self to correct my behavior. Our Prophet Muhammad S.W.A.M left us something very beautiful. He said there's two pieces in the hadith, sayings of the Prophet, there's two pieces of flesh in the body. If you can control them, he said, I guarantee you paradise. Those two pieces of flesh one was the flesh between the jawbone, which is the tongue, and the other piece of flesh was the flesh between the thigh bone, which is your private parts. If we can control what we say and what we do in our life, then we will start being able to focus. But most of us, we become disillusional because we are not focused. And when we run into an obstacle, right away we say, oh, well, then I must do what I was doing before.
Yep.
Well, you can't give up. We have to be like football players, like in the United States, because the football game here is different.
Yeah.
But on the football game in the United States, the person grabs the ball, they hand him the ball, and he runs it. He gets hit, he gets knocked down. Now, he don't run in the other direction because he got hit hard. No, he gets hit, and he still tries to go forward. And when he gets back up to get him the ball, he tries to keep going forward. Why? Because he has a goal to reach. And when he reaches a goal, everybody cheers him. No one cheers him if he just lays there. No one cheers for him if he runs back the other direction. So to the Muslim youth or any youth, keep your mind on the goal. And if you keep yourself on the goal, then the objective becomes easy.
The Y factor.
But speaking of, you know, endurance and things like that, so you were Muhammad Ali's bodyguard.
Yes.
What was that like? You know, we always hear of great, you know, Muhammad Ali, the man. What was
Yes.
it like to be, you know, intimately known to this man?
Well, it was a very special experience, and Muhammad Ali himself is a very special person. That's a good example for the youth in struggle. He did things at a time when it wasn't popular, when he could have lost his life. So Muhammad Ali is, once again, very unique. But being around him, he was particularly when he was young, very comical, very sincere, very truthful. Myself and him, we came to the deen at the same time, but we met later on. And he loved Islam, and he loved people, not just Muslims, because we have to give dawah. So Muhammad Ali liked associating with all people of all colors. And he crossed the lines with all people, that most people of all over the world love Muhammad Ali. And now he's at the age of 70, and he has Parkinson. I was with him at the time when he started having the Parkinson. And, but what Allah did for him, Allah tests us with things. He took away, he done all this talking, and he did all what he's supposed to do in his mission, and Allah took away his voice. He took away his fancy foot movement. Now he stirred the soul. And Allah tells us in the Quran, it says, Allah is talking about the soul. By the soul and the proportion and enlightenment given to it, to his wrongs and his rights. He or she will succeed who purifies it, and he fails who corrupts it. So now Muhammad Ali has truly become a soul man, where he's working on his soul. Because as we all know, we have the ultimate meet malatamot, death. And so this is what he, and at his age, and my age, I'm on 58, we should be preparing for to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, but being around him, he was a wonderful person. I had an argument with him, a big argument over some money. And the argument was over $10,000 I asked him for. And he got very emotional, he got very upset, and he shouted at me, he said, I thought you was my true friend. He went to talking real fast. This is when he was young. He said, now I find out you just like the rest of them, you just want some money, and he was going on. And then I said, I said, Ali, have I ever asked you for nothing? And he said, no, why would you do it now? I said, because it's not for me. It's for the Muslim school who needs a school bus. He got totally quiet. He said, when I come back, he was getting ready to go to Saudi Arabia. He said, I'll take care of that. So he had many people around him that was just there feeding like leeches. They wasn't there for the love of him. Alhamdulillah, the time I was around him, I was there because I loved him as my brother. And I treated him as such. And I never abused that relationship. But some people abuse that relationship. And I've tried to be in contact with him about a year or two, and it's impossible because some of the people that are around him now, even they feel they're protecting him. I had an official letter from the Saudi government through the Canadian Dawah Association, from the royal family, the royal government, inviting Muhammad Ali through myself, through this letter that I forwarded to him, invite him to come to the kingdom, his entire family, to make Umrah or Hajj anytime they want, an open invitation. And I was, of course, going to go with him. I was blocked, and I never made contact with him. So may Allah make that happen. Still, it's an open invitation, and I hope I get a chance to talk with him again.
I mean, I think the story that you've mentioned, it's a story of struggle, and I think the young people, you guys are in America, we're here in Sydney, but it's an issue of you have something that you believe in and you just trip along and believe in what you believe in, and, nothing can challenge you in life.
And that's very important what you're saying. See, when you believe in something, you have to believe in something. You have to really believe in it. And that belief pushes you beyond physical obstacles, moral obstacles, social obstacles, spiritual obstacles. And even if you have to give your life for what you believe in, you have already, that's part of it. I've been doing dawah work for over 30 years. What have happened to me? I might look like everything is intact, but I've been shot at. I've been punched in my mouth. I've been put in jail. I've been things thrown at me. I've been not welcome in cities. I've been not welcome in cities at gunpoint. So people don't see that. They see me, oh, the form body. They don't think this things happen to me. And for those who take on being a da'i, a caller to people, not just to Muslims. Da'i means to call and invite the people back to their natural disposition. In doing this, you're going to be tested severely. And alhamdulillah, and the test is not over for me.
The Y Factor.
All right, Sheikh, I think we've had a lot of serious discussion. So just a light-hearted wrap-up, I'm just going to ask you 5 quick questions, inshallah. All right. So, Sheikh, what's your favorite city? So you've traveled around. What's your favorite city?
And where?
Whatever country. And you can't say America, actually.
Okay, no. What's my favorite city? Well, forget city. Let's say right now, if I had to name a favorite country, and I'm not saying that because I'm here, I would have to say Australia.
Wow.
Because
we're taking this hijrah thing seriously, Sheikh.
I'm very serious. And everywhere I went, I've met Muslims, and I met Muslims. I'm a martial artist, and every city I went to, I met a community of Muslims that are actually training, exercising. And for you lazy Muslims, get up and start exercising and training. Quit eating all that kups and all that rice and all that to judge and all of that. So for me, that's a big thing. And we're having a seminar also. The brother will tell you about it later, but go ahead.
Inshallah. Sheikh, if you can have a dinner date with anyone in the world right now, who would it be?
If I could have a dinner date with anyone in the world right now, the poor Muslim. A poor Muslim. Just a simple Muslim. A poor Muslim. That's all. Someone that's struggling. Someone that needs help. Just have a piece of bread with him and a little water. That's what I would like to do. I told the brother, Sister May, I said, please, I want to meet a Muslim that's struggling. And I want to identify him because I have struggled and help him. And if I could break a little bread with him and talk to him or her, that would make everything worth it since I've been here.
Sheikh, what's your favorite quote? Do you have a quote that's always inspired you?
Yes. The Prophet, from the Prophet ﷺ. Live as though you're going to live 1,000 years, but know that you're going to die tomorrow. What that is saying, don't procrastinate. Don't waste time. Do not waste your potential. Allah has put a potential in every one of us. And potential means that things that you haven't done yet. And also, if you did know, and I'll make this quick, we have, scientists say we have an estimated 100 billion brain cells linked by 10,000 synaptic connections. The most sophisticated wiring system in existence, one of them is inside your head. So use it. And and make this world a better place. Because every time a child is born, Allah is giving the world another chance.
Sheikh, that was going to bring me to my last point. What would your concluding message be to the young Muslims of Australia, of Sydney, who are hearing you, who are struggling, who have issues in their life? You know, life is tough sometimes. What would your concluding message to them be?
My concluding message would be to them what a person gave to me. He said he was struggling with something. He was struggling with music. And I was so happy he said that, because he said he was struggling with it. That means he's thinking about either holding on, letting go, holding on. So Islam is a religion of struggle. So once he admits that he's in the struggle, then that means he's ready to really start to change and practice. It's like a sister that don't wear the hijab. She wears it once in a while, she takes it off. The more she struggles and Iman comes into the heart, Iman is her faith, comes in the heart, it won't be long for the hijab will appear. So my message to the youth is get in the struggle. If you're not struggling with nothing, then you're not practicing Islam. Get in the struggle. We're all in it together, and we need to work collectively together to struggle.
Ameen, ameen. And on that excellent note, we'll end it there. You've seen him Wednesday night, Thursday night, and inshallah tomorrow night will be his last talk here in Sydney. It's called Why Are We Here? It will be held at Masjid Abu Bakr As-Siddiq, IDCA, 361 Chisholm Road, Auburn, 7 p.m, which is right after Maghrib, so that's Friday the 30th. Thank you so much, Sheikh, once again for coming, and we'd like to thank One Ummah Project immensely for bringing out awesome days to Sydney. Jazakallah khair, and we'd hope to see you again.
Yes, thank you.
The Y Factor.
Hey Jamal, where can you get the best steak and ribs?
At Flames.
Have they got any deals on?
Yeah, mate. Specials on Thursdays, pizza and pastas, only $10.
$10?
Yeah, $10. $10. And 20% off everything else.
Only on Thursdays and Sundays.
Where at?
At Flames.
396 Beamish Street, Campsie.
Be there.
Where there's a right, there is no wrong. I always thought we were so strong, but our time just flew right by. There wasn't a chance to say goodbye. I'm so confused, I feel all alone. Deep in my heart I know Allah has called you home. But yet, your smile still lingers in my mind. And yet, it's so hard, I just break down and cry. I remember your eyes, find a way to melt my heart. Most of all, I remember your smile. Sometimes I lie awake at night, the pain in my heart I just can't fight. Why did you have to go away? Yet I know none of us can stay. You'll always be so special to me. In this world you'll always live as a memory. Whoa, but yeah.
The Y Factor.
Joining me in the studio today is Hanan, President of Mission of Hope, forensic psychologist, and the project coordinator for the Families for Children project. Now, this is a new innovative initiative by Mission of Hope, and Families for Children, F4C, it sounds like some sort of drug, F4C, not the Families for Children, is an innovative community initiative that seeks to raise awareness of the need to recruit foster parents from multicultural and culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds to provide provide short and long-term care to these children who are in need of foster care. Welcome to the show, Hanan.
Thank you for inviting me, Tasneem.
No worries. Hanan, we've heard a lot about, foster children and things like that. What's the context? Like, what are the stats out there on the number of Muslim foster kids that need foster parents?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question, actually, because about 2 years ago, we had foster care parents who actually approached Mission of Hope, and they actually said to us that they run annual Eid events for foster kids who are fostered out by the Department of Community Services. And what they found was that there wasn't enough awareness about the need for foster children when it comes to children who come from Muslim backgrounds, especially those with diverse ethnic backgrounds as well who happen to be Muslim. So what we just started to do initially was to provide with them the Eid gifts for their annual Eid activities, and then slowly some of the foster parents approached us and said, Hanan, there is a real need for foster children. What we're finding is that Muslim kids are being lost through the gaps where they're actually being fostered out by non-Muslim families because there's not enough Muslim foster parents who are registering or being recruited by the Department of Community Services. And giving credit to the Department of Community Services, they also recognise the need for Muslims to be recruited so they can actually take on Muslim children, because what they are aware of is that there needs to be some sense of identification and belonging by the children when they're being cared for, by appropriate caregivers.
That's right.
So they have been over the last few years, so it's not a new thing by the Department of Community Services. They have been trying their very best to actually network with Arabic-speaking and Muslim communities, and also communities of different ethnic backgrounds to try and raise awareness of the issue.
To get these kids into foster homes.
Exactly.
How many kids are we talking about here?
Well, at the moment, we don't have exact figures of how many Muslim children are in foster care, but statewide, there are actually 24,000 children who are in need of care throughout New South Wales. And the numbers actually do increase rapidly year by year. But the problem is that there are only about 9,000 foster carers.
Wow.
So you can imagine there's a big
lot of kids
exactly.
Okay.
So and one of the emerging issues is that there are a lot more Muslim children who are being fostered out as well, but not enough Muslim families taking them on as foster carers. And I think, although Department of Community Services has been trying to network and trying to, I suppose, bring awareness to the issue to ethnic-based media, ethnic-based communities, a lot of us English-speaking second and third generation Australians aren't even aware of the foster care problem or the increasing issue of needing to match Muslim children with Muslim foster care families.
I think people know about foster and foster kids, but they don't know that it's like you can actually have Muslim or foster kids from linguistically and culturally diverse backgrounds that actually specifically need the service of what they can provide as a ethnic or Muslim person themselves. So Hanan, this project is it's a community initiative. So basically, you're trying to raise grassroots awareness and to recruit more foster parents to let them know about what's happening. Is that right? Is that the scope and parameters of the project?
Yes. Well, initially, what we're trying to do, as in our initial phase, is to support the Department of Community Services in raising awareness about the need for foster carers who come from culturally and linguistically diverse communities, in essence multicultural sort of families, so that the children can be appropriately matched. And I suppose over the last few decades, the Department of Community Services has recognised, like after the failure, I suppose, with the lost generation, the Indigenous children, that they need to be able to match the children, to cater to their needs, and they are now trying to do that quite successfully in terms of their own policies and procedures and assessments, in understanding what the needs of the children are. However, it's not being met by the numbers of recruitment or the numbers of foster carers that are available.
So they're trying, but there's not enough people to actually cater for what they're trying for. People aren't responding. And I think also the fact, especially with Muslims, Islam is a way of life, so it doesn't just penetrate like a belief kind of thing that you do, once a week on Sunday or whatever. Because it penetrates all aspects of life. If a Muslim child comes from that, observant Islamic household and is taken into, a secular household or any other faith, it's actually a big shock for them. And they usually come from traumatized past and things like that. And you don't want that to actually exasperate due to, their foster arrangements.
And I think it's important because, if you've seen some recent interviews or if you know children who have been been fostered out who do come from Muslim backgrounds or any other ethnic background, you will, when you hear their story, it's actually quite disheartening because they do come from collectivistic sort of households, very communal, very social. Yes, they understand there have been difficulties in their families where, you know, maybe their parents have needed to be supported, but what they find is that they become even more so or traumatized when they go to families that are not of their ethnic background or not of their religious background because they are alien to that culture.
It's a shock. It's a
yes,
whole shock.
so the child is already in a state of trauma or state of confusion originally when they are removed from their parents' home, but then it's a bigger shock and more trauma when they have to be placed in a family where they can't identify with their practices, if there are any rituals, if there are, I suppose, not only if there are any rituals, but differences in routines as well in the house. You know, so it's really important because of a lot of the ethnic communities have very strong cultural practices that the child doesn't feel that there's such a gap, you know, when they are entering a new foster care family with that caters to their ethnic and language sort of similarity as well. So it's all about matching. At the end of the day, you know, I suppose from a psychologist's perspective, it's very important for a child to have a strong attachment to their caregiver, whether it's their biological parents or foster care parents or coaches or teachers, you know, but especially with caregiving, when they are residing with their foster parents, it's really important that there's
a primary role.
Yes, it's a primary caregiver role, and it's really important that the sensitivity is given, the care is given, because a strong attachment will actually lead to healthy adult functioning. If there's not a strong attachment identification between the parent and the child, then the adult functioning, as they develop and grow, a lot more confusion, a lot more isolation.
Issues, that's right.
Yeah, and they develop a lot more psychological issues as well. So what you're finding with the Muslim foster care parents at the moment, that when they are fostering children of Muslim backgrounds, that the kids much easier adapt to the lifestyle. They are happier. They can relate. They can speak the same language. You know, they can practice the same rituals, and it's actually quite healthy as well. There's not
for both parties,
exactly.
the foster parents as well as the foster children.
Yes,
that brings me to my next point, Hanan. I think, you know, a lot of people have heard about this, and especially with the marketing that you have been doing for this Families for Children project. So a lot of people are tossing up the idea. Okay, so just for more information for them, I just wanted to go through some questions with you. So what are usual motivations that you have come across? What motivates people to actually become a foster parent? And in your experience, the foster parents that you have met, what led them to make that decision to actually become a foster parent?
Well, I suppose a lot of the Muslim foster parents, we understand from an Islamic perspective that it's very important to look after orphans, you know, and sometimes we are led, you know, just to believe that, you know, giving monetary, like money to orphans overseas is sufficient.
And it clears our conscience, we can just forget about it.
Exactly. You know, you go online, you do your PayPal or, you know, your credit card transfer, and that's the end of the story. But as we go deeper into our deen and our religion, we understand that the best charity is actually time. It's not the monetary, it's not the money. So a lot of people are recognizing, hang on, these are orphans, and we know there's a hadith that says, you know, any person that takes on an orphan or supports an orphan will be very close to the Rasul Sallallahu, you know, in Jannah, in paradise, inshallah. So they're taking it to that next level where they're saying, hang on, you know, these kids need our assistance. They don't have parents. We are going to be held responsible.
And it's in Australia. It's not like, for example, Palestine or Syria.
Exactly,
like, you know, it's in our backyard.
Yes. And they are recognising the need, and they are recognising the need because they are being informed about the need for Muslim foster children being put in Muslim homes. So when you've got these awareness campaigns, people start to open up and start to question and start to reflect about these deeper issues. You know, they start to say, okay, well, my kids are set at home, they're healthy, they go to school. These children don't have the same things as my children. So and we know the Islamic principle: you want for your brother
what you want for yourself.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. So they're trying to give back, and it's actually spiritually rewarding, psychologically enriching as well, and also emotionally as well. So there's I suppose, while there's spiritual rewards, a lot of the parents are saying that they love it. They love looking after their children short term. And what you're finding is that although they're taking on kids for the motivation of short term, that they are enjoying actually the possibility of taking on the kids for longer term. And also there's the adoption process as well. Some Muslim parents are adopting their children, keeping exploring their Islamic identities, you know, and the kids are feeling very comfortable, and they actually treat them like their own children as well.
I think it sounds like a very mutually beneficial relationship.
Yes.
So although at the outset you think, you know, these children need us,
yes,
you realise no, like I'm the one that's getting so much out of having these children in my life, and it becomes it's a very beneficial relationship where you're feeding off each other.
That's true, and there's a lot of support provided to foster care parents as well. So you're not left to fend for the children. You know, you're not thrown in the deep end. There is a lot of support, whether it's community support, doc support. You know, so and any questions that you do have there, and they actually monitor your progress and see that everything's okay. They ask you if there are any needs that need to be met for the child. You know, specific because needs, you know the government really looks after foster children. So a lot of the parents are happy to take on more than one child, for example, because they know that they are going to be supported. You know, at the end of the day.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, generally, what skills are needed as a foster parent? So, if someone's contemplating this, what skills do you think, in your professional opinion, are actually required for someone to be a foster parent? You know, is there something special, or anyone can actually?
I don't think you need anything really special, because I think it's a universal a value to have love and compassion towards others. So those who actually care about the fact that the children are being raised without a caregiver, I mean, that should be a universal quality everyone should have. So I think that once you take that on board and you realise, hang on, this is something I can give back to the community, because it's actually a communal responsibility. Not only is it a state responsibility and a government responsibility, but from our perspective as Muslims, it is really a communal responsibility to look after our children.
That's right.
Just like it's very important for us to ensure that we have adequate health services, that we have adequate education for our children, Quran schools and, you know, Islamic schools. It is our communal obligation to ensure that these children are actually raised in a Islamic environment where they are being loved and supported. I don't think there's any special qualities needed, except that you know how to look after children. So if you know how to look after children, especially children above the age of 10, there's a dire need for foster parents, more so for children above the age of 10. A lot of people think, oh, you know, they can get a newborn and raise a child from start, but that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot more children above the age of 10, especially male children, who need Muslim foster care parents. So I encourage everyone to come to our launch, which is on Saturday the 14th of April. It'll be held locally here at the Australian National Sports Club, and it'll be run from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. There'll also be a community barbecue to support the project as well, and you'll be able to ask as many questions as you like, because there'll be presentations by Muslim foster carers, so you'll be able to hear their enriching story. You'll be able to hear their true voice, how they've experienced having children, their challenges, you know, what they find enriching, and also they'll be encouraging you to take on children as well. You'll be able to hear from Muslim community workers as well, social workers, people in the area who'll be able to answer all the questions. And inshallah, we also would like to present religious leaders who'll be able to answer the tricky questions people may have about being a foster parent, for example. So it'll be 2 hours, inshallah. It'll be very communal, very fun, and you'll be able to register your expression of interest at the day, inshallah. And from then, we will make sure that we keep in contact, and we will provide that information to the Department of Community Services, and Mission of Hope, through the Families for Children project, will be supporting them along the way as well.
Okay, so for those, I'll just repeat the details again for those who are interested, inshallah. It is the launch of the Families for Children project. It will also have a barbecue if you're hungry and just want to, you know. Inshallah, it will be Saturday the 14th of April, 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. at the Australian National Sports Club, which is in Lakemba in Peru Park. If you are interested, you can email info@missionofhope.org.au. So that was info@missionofhope.org.au for further information or for queries. Also, the project is welcoming sponsorships and donations. And if you are interested, you can deposit into the Mission of Hope bank account. And if you want details of that, it's on the website, and you can also email that link for further details. So Hanan, as we said, so this is this is a launch of the project. Now, the Y Factor is a youth radio show, and we're all about youth, right? What can we as young people do to get behind this cause, to support this worthy cause, and to get the word out there, basically?
Well, as young people and being technologically savvy, one of the first things you can do is actually help promote the project, but also more importantly on the day, inshallah, you know, you can actually assist with the barbecue. We'd like to have face painting and henna activities as well, to I suppose provide a social network, because there'll be foster caring parents attending. inshallah, potential foster carers also attending as well, because one of the things that we would like to expand on is providing that social network so that foster care parents don't feel isolated, foster children don't feel isolated as well. So what we're trying to do is, again, respond to the community needs, because Mission of Hope, one of the things that we actually work on achieving is responding to the gaps in our community. And we actually, on the Committee for the Families for Children project, we've got social workers, psychologists, foster carers themselves, community welfare workers and other professionals and community workers who are assisting us put this project together so that it can actually be the best that it can be. As Muslims, we need to ensure, that we actually put our best foot forward. And interestingly, young people, are our biggest supporters when it comes to Mission of Hope, because they like to see positive projects in the community, real projects that are really going to cater to today's needs. And I think that with Mission of Hope, I would confidently say we're quite innovative in our particular projects, and young people do tend to support us. So if you can come on the day, help with the barbecue, help with activities, promote these to your family members as well, because whilst you might be young, you may not be ready to take on foster children, but you can talk to your families, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbours, talk to your communities, and other community organisations as well, to ensure that this project is actually quite successful.
That's right. All right, Hanan, I think that was very informative. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. May Allah reward you, and I really hope that the project is a success.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you for having me. Wassalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. And just to repeat the details again, the launch will be at the Australian National Sports Club in Lakemba on the 14th of April, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. For further information, you can visit the Mission of Hope website, or you can also email info@missionofhope.org.au. Stay tuned, listeners. We've got the rest of the episode to go. We'll go through the events for this week. You're listening to The Y Factor on 87.6 FM.
The Y Factor.
All the games people playing now, feel the flames, hatred devours, let's spark a change that's within all of us. Oh, we need to smile at each other, reach for your brother, help one another, all we need is love. Oh, we need to honor our mother, shelter our sisters, alter our existence, God's help will come from up above, but first we need the love.
I am in the birds, I am in the trees, from the brown branches to the green leaves. I'm colorful, spectrum infinite, I touch all, indiscriminate, breed compassion and sentiment, limitless in my power to heal the hearts of men, but they're so forgetful, that's why I remind on the instrumental. This life is a trial, can never let the test affect your smile. Reach for your brother, go the extra mile, kiss for your mother, hug your sister, let your wife know that you miss her, know that you can never give up. When you fall to the floor, I'm the reason you must get up. Love, I'm a blessing from God, so why you don't use me more? It's so odd. You need love, we need love. Love is all we need. Love is all we need.
Now for some wacky news for this week. If any of you guys were complaining about how much your wife's wedding dress costs, complain no more. In Romania, a bride actually just showcased the longest train in history. It was an astonishing 1.85 mile gown. It was declared the longest gown by the Guinness World Records. It was designed by a Dutch designer, and it was actually modeled by a 17-year-old model who actually showcased it. Now, they actually needed the hot air balloon which hovered over Romania to actually take pictures of this gown. That's how long it was. So do not complain about the expensiveness of your wife's dresses.
The Y Factor.
Now, if you've ever been a wedding crasher and ashamed of it, fear not, because the precedent has actually been established by Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth and her husband, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, were actually travelling around the UK for the tour, and actually there was a wedding at Manchester Town Hall in Northern England on Friday, and just 2 minutes after the actual nuptials, the Queen and her husband just dropped past unexpected. They started taking photos with everyone, and they basically crashed, the party. The 40-year-old groom knew beforehand that the Queen will be visiting, and he actually jokingly wrote to Buckingham Palace to invite the monarch, but he received a polite a polite reply declining the invitation. But then again, they actually rocked up to the wedding, and the 44-year-old bride and the 40-year-old groom were actually dumbfounded by this. So don't worry if you're a wedding crasher, even the Queen's done it. All right, now just for some events this week, subhanAllah, we've actually got a very jam-packed 2 weeks ahead of us. So just this Friday, so that's tomorrow night, as we mentioned at 7 p.m. At IDCA, there will be the last talk given by Brother Neelain Muhammad, and it will be basically about the purpose of life. So if you're interested, that was at the IDCA tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Also tomorrow night is the Australian Muslim Talent, organised by Mercy Mission Australia. Inshallah, it will be 6 p.m. Tomorrow night at the LMA Function Centre, 71 G Road, Lakemba. It's open to brothers and sisters of both ages. The categories include Best Qari, Best Mu'adhin, Best Nasheed Artist, Best Comedian, Best Power, as well as Islamic Art. If you are interested, be sure to sign up. The first prize is actually an Umrah package, so something pretty interesting. So if you're interested, rock up tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Or you can also register at the website, which is mercymissionworld.org, and you can actually go to the Australian Muslim Talent event. On Saturday and Sunday, Al-Kawthar will be hosting the Drops of Dew Imam Nawawi's 40 Hadith course. It's a full 2-day intensive course, 7:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. both Saturday and Sunday. It will be held at University of Western Sydney at Milpera. It will go through things about Hadith, 8 signs of a pure heart and of a sick heart, what Qadar is, how to actually give advice, the proper etiquettes of dua, how to understand innovations, and various issues. The Al-Kawthar courses are usually very intensive Islamically, and they're really interesting to go to. If you are interested, you can actually just enroll online at the Al-Kawthar website, which is alkawthar.org.au. So alkawthar.org.au if you're interested in going to the Drops of Dew course. Inshallah, most of you, if you've been following on the Y Factor group, would have actually seen all the activism in relation to the detainees at the Villawood Detention Centre. Alhamdulillah, a lot of the community has picked up on it. So Mission of Hope will actually be hosting a volunteers training day. So a volunteers training day that will be on this Sunday. So this Sunday, the 1st of April, 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. It will go through what to expect while visiting, confidentiality, self-protection, regulations with circos, do's and don'ts, how to assist traumatized clients, providing accidental counselling, and existing referrals and services. Inshallah, the speakers include Hanan, who's a forensic psychologist and president of Mission of Hope, Anna Rose Robinson, who's a refugee caseworker with Amnesty International, and other negotiation and risk assessment professionals. If you're interested, you can contact info@missionofhope.org.au, or you can contact Maha Najreen on 0415 885 485. So that was Maha on 0415 885 485, and that was the volunteers training session. And inshallah, Mission of Hope, as well as refugee advocates in Sydney, have been visiting the refugee detention centre on a weekly basis. So if you are interested, they usually go either Saturdays or Sundays, 12:30 p.m. onwards. They've got both Facebook groups set up to this initiative. So if you are interested, inshallah, it's a very worthy cause. Also on Sunday, Sheikh Abdul-Naim Wali, who many of you might have known him a couple of years ago. He actually moved to the States, but he's actually back to give a public lecture on the Ihya, so Ihya Ulumuddin by Imam Al-Ghazali. So inshallah, it will be Sunday the 1st of April again, 7 p.m, which is after Maghrib, at 52 Park Road, Auburn. It will actually go on through Ihya Ulumuddin's book 4 on saving acts, Al-Munjiyat, saving acts, on the book of love, desire and intimacy, as well as acceptance. So if you're interested, you can actually just rock up to the event, inshallah. That will be Sunday night at 7 p.m, 52 Park Road, Auburn. Next week, Buna Muhammad, the poet from Canada will actually be teaming up with our local talent, Kamal Saleh, YouTube sensation. You could have seen his YouTube clip on why I hate religion but love Jesus. So if you're interested, as well as hearing the awesome Sheikh S.W.A.M Sharkawi, be sure to attend. It will be held at the LMA Function Centre, 7110 Road, Lakemba. That will be Tuesday the 3rd of April, 6 to 9 p.m. So 6 to 9 p.m. Tuesday the 3rd of April, inshallah. And it's called the Lyrics of Freedom, featuring poets Sheik Neelain Muhammad, Kamal Saleh, as well as Sheikh S.W.A.M Sharkawi. All right, listeners, without further ado, that will bring us to the end of the episode for this week. I do apologize that you had to hear my voice throughout the episode, but inshallah, as of next week, our other co-host for the Y Factor team will be back on. As we said, we love the discussion you guys are having on there. Just a short reminder, please keep in mind the adab. We're not an Islamic Aqidah Facebook group for you to discuss religious issues. We're there to discuss relevant issues that affect the Muslim youth in Sydney. So if you do want to discuss religious matters, especially giving religious rulings and fatwas, we're not credited. We don't have any mashayikh on the page, so please take it somewhere else, or speak to your local sheikhs about it. We welcome though any issues that you do have, any suggestions, any upcoming events you like, you can send them through to us. Any suggestions about possible features we can have, we're more than welcome to happy to take them on board. So you can let us know on the Facebook page. Those of you who don't have Facebook, you can email us at theyfactor@live.com.au. And with that, we'll leave it. You're listening to the Y Factor on 87.6 FM.
The Y Factor.
The Y Factor is proudly brought to you by Flame Steakhouse Pizza and Ribs in Campsie, the best steak you'll ever have.